Palit GeForce RTX 2080 Super White GameRock Premium Opinion. The Palit GeForce RTX 2080 Super WGRP is currently listed in Europe for €899, including taxes. Pro. Solid performance increase over the original RTX 2080. Fastest memory ever seen on a graphics card, 15.5 Gbps. Very quiet in gaming. Overclocked out of the box. Idle fan stop, on second BIOS. RTX technology. Backplate included. Dual BIOS. White cooler design. DLSS could lift the card to 4K 60 FPS performance. Game bundle includes both Control and Wolfenstein, Youngblood. SLI support. VESA adaptive sync, HDMI 2.0B, USB-C, DisplayPort 1.4, 8K support. Contra. High price. Power limit not increased over Founders Edition. Always running in power limiter, which complicates overclocking, too. Memory not overclocked. NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 2080 Super is now available in both the Founders Edition and custom design variants. While it seems surprising at first that NVIDIA is releasing a new model in a market segment with zero competition, it makes sense if you take a closer look at their product stack. In order to counter AMD's Navi-based Radeon RX 5700 series, NVIDIA released the Super Refresh of Turing, which offers faster variants of the RTX 2060 and RTX 2070. Unlike the original RTX 2070, the RTX 2070 Super is based on the TU104 graphics processor, which is the same chip that powers the RTX 2080 lineup. This jump in performance shrunk the gap between the RTX 2070 and RTX 2080, which makes the original RTX 2080 less attractive to potential buyers, especially at its current price point. That's why NVIDIA is giving the RTX 2080 the +1 treatment, too. The RTX 2080 Super is based on the same TU104 GPU that powers the RTX 2080, but uses all shaders available in the silicon. NVIDIA is also bumping their memory clocks up to 15.5 Gbps, which helps with performance, too. Palit's RTX 2080 Super White GameRock Premium comes with a sizable overclock out of the box for a rated boost clock of 1860 MHz, which is 55 MHz higher than the Founders Edition. Overall, when averaged over our benchmarks at 4K resolution, this results in only a 2% performance improvement over the NVIDIA reference, not a lot. The RTX 2080 Super WGRP is 9% faster than the original RTX 2080, which widens the gap to the RTX 2070 Super to 19%, restoring the balance in this market segment. NVIDIA's flagship, the RTX 2080 Ti, is 15% faster than the RTX 2080 Super. AMD's fastest, the now end-of-life Radeon 7, is 17% behind, and the new Navi-based RX 5700 XT is 26% slower, not even close. Performance numbers of the RTX 2080 Super are good. The higher FPS rates definitely help improve the gaming experience at 4K. While not a 4K 60 max details card, it is good enough for solid 4K gaming with decent frame rates if you are willing to sacrifice some details settings, depending on the game. Its high performance will also help gamers looking to drive a high refresh rate monitor beyond 60Hz on 1440p at the highest details. What immediately stands out when looking at the card is its white color scheme, which is a nice change that will definitely appeal to many gamers. The cooler itself is unchanged over the company's other GameRock cards, which of course makes a lot of sense financially. In our testing we see solid temperatures that are a few degrees better than the Founders Edition. Where the Palit RTX 2080 Super WGRP really hits the jackpot is noise levels. The card is incredibly quiet, especially when the quiet BIOS is enabled. In that mode, the card emits only 31 dB during heavy gaming, which lets it claim the noise levels thrown for the GeForce RTX 2080 Super. This BIOS also comes with the idle fan stop feature, which shuts off the card's fans completely in idle, productivity, and light gaming. Our recommendation is to switch to the quiet BIOS at all times, never touch the BIOS switch again, and enjoy the super low noise levels, which still have good temperatures. While power efficiency is good, it's not as impressive as on other RTX 2080 Super cards we've tested before. It seems Palit changed something that drives up power without yielding performance in return. What's even more surprising is that the card does draw quite a bit more power than the Founders Edition, even though both cards are running at a 250W board power limit by default. In my opinion, Palit should have raised their power limit a bit, as that unlocks additional performance because Nvidia's boost algorithm can boost higher for longer. The manual power adjustment limit is generous though, reaching up to 330W. Only the GeForce RTX 2080 SFTW3 goes higher than that. The power limiter does complicate overclocking a bit because you can no longer dial in the exact clocks you want to overclock to. Still, our manual overclocking tests show good results, leading to a 6.3% real-life performance improvement. Especially the Samsung 16GB GDDR6 memory chips overclock extremely well, reaching 2335 MHz in frequency, 18.4 Gbps, which is a new record here at Tech Power Up. Wondering why Nvidia chose to clock the cards at 15.5 Gbps even though the memory chips themselves are guaranteed to run at 16 Gbps, I reached out to them and got the response that this is related to the PCB design of the original 2080 board. On the 2080 Super we reach max stability at 15.5, while leaving some AUC headroom. Like all other Nvidia RTX cards, the RTX 2080 Super includes support for ray tracing hardware acceleration. With only a few titles so far, I'm not sure if it's the most important technology to have today, but I am convinced that with their close ties to developers, Nvidia will do everything they can to push this technology forward, which will ultimately result in an improvement of fidelity in games. Console makers Sony and Microsoft are also working on ray tracing for their next-gen hardware, which will definitely help adoption rates, too. The RTX 2080 Super has additional RT cores and higher performance overall, which will help cushion the performance hit from ray tracing. Palit's cards are not sold in the US, but we found it listed in Europe for €899 including taxes. We factored at the VAT and converted to a USD price of $840, which we used throughout the review. Nvidia's RTX 2080's Founders Edition retails at $700, making the limited edition Palit WGRP $140 more expensive. That's simply too much. The 2% out-of-the-box performance increase can't justify the cost increase. The bigger cooler is definitely a huge improvement, and the noise levels are amazing, but I'm still not convinced. Gamers looking for a white graphics card will simply have to live with that price as options are very limited, which gives the Palit WGRP a unique selling point. In my opinion, a more reasonable price for the card would be in the $770 range or so, at which point it would also be positioned competitively to similar cards from other vendors. In order to offset the cost a little bit and show off the benefits of their RTX technology, Nvidia includes a 2-game bundle with all RTX Super cards consisting of Wolfenstein, Youngblood and Control, which both support ray tracing.